Okay, so let's take a look at the white ink tab. Anytime we need white ink, we're going to want to open this up, otherwise we'll never have white ink in our design. So in our underbase generation, there are 5 methods. We have a transparency, use background color, solid white, import white layer, use white ink only. I'm going to talk about 4 of these, and then in another segment we'll do the last because it's we can get into Photoshop with that one. So we'll come back to that here in a minute. Our black ink handling, we have remove black ink. So if you're printing on a black shirt, if you want to remove the black ink, it does help integrate your design into the print a little bit better. So if you choose remove black ink, basically it says, the sensitivity says, well, anything that's 94% or higher black, let's remove it. So if you want to lower that number or increase that number, that's where it is. We find that 94, 96, somewhere in that area is pretty good for sensitivity for most designs. White ink under black, this is just if you are wanting to put white ink under your black printed areas, then this is how much you want to put. Do you want to put 0% all the way to 100%? Now, what we find is most of the time we opt not to put white ink under black. But if you want to do that, you can. And again, it's reflective on this black sensitivity. Our white choke is just simply when you have white outline around your design, this choke helps eliminate that. And it's about 13 right now, which is standard. Our white highlights, if you want to print white highlights, so anywhere there's a 100% white or and you want to print that highlight, you would increase this here. So what it'll do is it'll print the white layer, come back and print the color and white highlight at the same time. I really don't use this white highlight. I think if you pre-treat properly and you have the proper resolution for your white ink and you have a good quality shirt, wherever there's 100% white anyway, it exposes and it's bright. And I just find it's kind of overkill. Some people request this feature, but I find that when it prints all your colors and your white at the same time, it does tend to slow down your print head. So I just choose not to use it. White feathering is just talking about gradients and smoothness and tones into fading and so forth. And so once you play around with these numbers, you can see the effect it has. But what we find is 50 on both of these is our standard, and it works pretty good for almost all your designs. But if you're having a difficult time with some fades, this is where you would increase or decrease your intensity of white ink and your sharpness of print. But really there's not much to that other than just playing with it and seeing the cause and effect. But again, we find 50% on both works real well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the actual underbase generation. So we're just going to go down the line. We have use transparency. So this is why we tell people that it's best to design your artwork in transparent mode. And the reason for that is with a transparent background is the white layer generation is very quick, it's simple, it's accurate. So that's why we do that. So let's go ahead and import an image with a transparent background. Okay, we're going to move this and double click on it and center it. We have use transparency, just simply choose create. And there we go. So we can see we have our white layer. You can see under white highlight there's no preview. So because we didn't turn highlights on. We have our white layer, so anything that's black is 100% white, and then your shades of gray would be the reverse. Color layer, preview, and of course our original. All right, so let's go ahead and remove that. It's very simple, pretty straightforward. Use background color. So use background color is when you have a black background, this is standard. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in this other design. So when we have a background color, we double click on this, black is automatically chosen for use background color. So if I hit create underbase and white highlight, there's my white layer, there's my color layer. So the black is completely removed from the design, at least the background. So we're going to go ahead and remove that, and then we're going to go ahead and bring it back in again so I can show you how to actually use it with other colors. So let's just say we had a different color background. Instead, we can choose select background color, or rather, let's just say it was a black background, but you felt that it wasn't taking enough of the black out. We can choose select background color, and now we can see our window that pops up gives us the ability to choose whatever color we want. If this was a red, an image that had red in it and I had a red shirt, I could click the red and the red would disappear. But in this case, obviously, we want to remove the black. So I'm just going to click anywhere in the black. And now you can see we have a threshold meter here that you can increase or decrease how much of that black you want to be taken out. Now, the word of caution, on a standard design, the higher the threshold, it's going to start pulling colors and the black and everything, but it's going to start pulling probably more out of your overall design than you want. This is just simply orange and white. So, and I'm trying to pull the black out. So if I put it all the way up, it's pretty much going to eliminate almost everything. And again, it's not really necessary once we find out that this black that will print is just going to be on the outer edge anyway. But again, this is your threshold. So we normally leave it 8, or somewhere in that area, but on this design, I mean, I could go as all the way, and that's not really affecting this color. If this was a darker color, it would probably affect it more than it has. We hit OK. Again, there's our white, and there's our color, and of course our preview. Let's go ahead and remove that. Next one is solid white. So we're going to import another design. Move it where we want, double click, it'll center it. Again, solid white is just that. If you have a design that's the entire image, it's not, there's no transparency or anything like that, we can just create underbase and white highlight. There's our white, there's our color, and our preview. And again, the white, you can see it does do the gradients and so forth. Okay. We have a use white ink only. All right, and we'll come back to the other one in section 2 of this video because it's going to have some Photoshop involved in it. So the use white ink only, let's take an image here. So what I did here was I generated a piece of artwork that is black because I wanted to print it white. So this is the simplicity. You just simply, anything that you want to print white, you just do your artwork with black. The background can be white, it doesn't matter because all we're going to do is use white ink only. So when I hit create underbase, you can see it reverses it. There's our white layer. There is no color layer. So this is really good to use when you're only doing white ink because it will generate only a white layer. It will not generate a white and a color layer. If I was to use let's just say if I created this artwork as white on a transparent background and I use transparency to detect background and I create my underbase, what it's going to do is it's going to create a white layer and it's going to create a color layer even though there's no data in the color layer. So what will happen is you're going to send your design in, it'll print white, go back in and act like it's going to print, but it prints nothing and ejects the platen. So this is the best methodology whenever you're wanting to do white ink only. So you would just make whatever you want black, do use white ink only, create it, and it reverses it.